The massive ship hung in space like a metal mountain. It was 3 times longer than anything humans had ever built. Dark gray metal stretched across its hull, covered with weapon ports that could destroy a city in seconds. This was the flagship of the Galactic Dominion Third Fleet, and it had come to Earth with a message. Admiral Kyung-min stood on the bridge, looking at the small blue planet below. He had done this many times before. 37 worlds had surrendered to him in the past 5 years. Each time was the same. The primitive species would panic, beg, try to negotiate, and then accept their fate. It was always easier than they expected. "Sir, the human delegation is ready to come aboard," reported his aide. Kyung-min nodded. "Send them to Conference Room 7, the standard setup." Conference Room 7 was designed to intimidate. The ceiling was too high, making visitors feel small. The walls showed images of Dominion fleets conquering other worlds. The table was made of black stone from the Dominion capital, polished to reflect the lights above. Everything about the room said one thing: you are powerless here. The human delegation arrived exactly on time. 3 people walked into the room with calm faces. Ambassador Hana wore a simple blue dress and carried a small bag. Defense Minister Woo Jin looked like a grandfather in his dark suit, with kind eyes behind wire glasses. Dr. Hyun Woo, their chief scientist, seemed more interested in the room's technology than in the weapons pointed at his planet. "Please, sit," Kyung-min said, gesturing to the chairs across from him. The humans sat down without hurry. No one looked nervous. This was unusual. "I am Admiral Kyung-min of the Galactic Dominion Third Fleet. I speak for the empire that rules 1,000 worlds across this galaxy. You represent the species called humans from the planet Earth." "That's correct," Ambassador Hana said. Her voice was steady and polite. "Thank you for meeting with us, Admiral. We appreciate your time." Kyung-min paused. Most species either trembled with fear or tried to show false bravery at this point. The humans just seemed interested, like they were here for a normal business meeting. "I will be direct," he continued. "The Galactic Dominion has decided to bring your world into our empire. This is not a request. This is an announcement." He activated the holographic display above the table. Images of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. Red dots marked every major city, military base, and spaceport. "We have been watching your species for 50 years. We know everything about your technology, your weapons, your population. You have approximately 8 billion people across 12 worlds. Your military consists of basic kinetic weapons and primitive fusion drives. You pose no threat to the Dominion." Defense Minister Woo Jin leaned forward slightly. "That's a very thorough analysis, Admiral. Your intelligence networks are impressive." "Thank you," Kyung-min said, though he wondered why the humans seemed genuinely impressed rather than terrified. The hologram changed to show Dominion warships, hundreds of them, each one larger than Earth's biggest battleship. "This is the third fleet under my command, 300 ships. Each one could glass your planet's surface in minutes. But the Dominion prefers peaceful integration when possible. We offer you terms." Ambassador Hana pulled out a small notebook and pen. "Please go ahead, Admiral. We're listening." Kyung-min had never seen a species take notes during their surrender terms before, but he continued with the standard speech. "First, all human military assets will be surrendered to Dominion control. Your ships, weapons, and defense systems will be cataloged and decommissioned. Second, Earth and all human colonies will accept Dominion law and governance. A Council of Dominion. Administrators will oversee all planetary operations." Dr. Hyun Woo asked, "Will our current governments be dissolved completely, or will there be some transitional period?" "Transitional period of 6 months," Kyung-min replied automatically. He was starting to feel confused. These humans were asking questions like they were negotiating a trade deal, not receiving surrender terms. "Third," he continued, 20% of your population will be selected for labor conscription. They will be relocated to serve the Empire's needs on various worlds. Fourth, all human research and technology will become property of the Dominion. Your scientists will work under Dominion oversight." Ambassador Hana finished writing and looked up. "And what does humanity receive in return for these accommodations? You receive the protection of the Dominion. Your species will not be destroyed. You will be fed, housed, and given purpose serving the greater galaxy." "I see," Hana said. She looked at her colleagues. Wu Jin was still listening with that same grandfather-like patience. Dr. Hyun-woo seemed to be examining the holographic projectors with professional interest. These terms are non-negotiable, Kyung-min added. Every species that has joined the Dominion has accepted similar arrangements. Some tried to resist. Their worlds are now empty rocks floating in space. How many species would that be? Dr. Hyun-woo asked. The ones that resisted, I mean. 47 species chose destruction over integration, Kyung-min said. Their choice. And the 1,000 species that joined peacefully? They served the Empire well. Many have forgotten they were ever independent. Their children grow up as Dominion citizens. It's a better life than they had before. Ambassador Hana closed her notebook. Admiral, these are certainly comprehensive terms. You've clearly put a lot of thought into this process. Kyung-min waited for the usual responses, begging for more time, offers of tribute instead of surrender, desperate attempts to negotiate smaller concessions. The humans just sat there, looking thoughtful. We would like to request 72 hours to consider your offer, Hana said finally. This is not an offer. This is your terms, yes, Hana corrected gently. 72 hours to prepare our response. Kyung-min considered this. Most species asked for weeks or months. 72 hours was nothing, and it would give his fleet time to complete their tactical surveys of the human worlds. Very well, 72 hours. But understand this. Delay will not change the outcome. The Dominion has decided. Your species will join the Empire. We understand completely, Defense Minister Wu Jin said. Your position is very clear. The humans stood to leave. As they reached the door, Dr. Hyun-woo paused and turned back. Admiral, I hope you don't mind me saying, but your fleet's sensor arrays are quite remarkable. The way you've mapped our defensive installations is really impressive work. Thank you, Kyung-min said, surprised by the compliment. I noticed some interesting scanning patterns around our research facilities. Very thorough. Though I'm curious about the gaps in your sensor coverage in the outer system regions. There are no gaps, Kyung-min said sharply. Our sensors detect everything within 50 light years. Dr. Hyun-woo smiled. Of course, Admiral. I'm sure your technology is far beyond ours. I was probably just misreading the data signatures. After the humans left, Kyung-min sat alone in the conference room. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't identify what. The humans had been too calm, too polite, too accepting. His aide entered. Sir, should we begin final preparations for the occupation? Yes, Kyung-min said. But double-check our sensor. Sweeps of the outer system. I want confirmation that we've mapped everything. Is there a problem, sir? Kyung-min looked at the image of Earth on the screen. I don't know. Maybe. These humans are different from other species. They're not acting scared enough. Sir, with respect, they're primitives facing the Dominion fleet. Fear makes people act strangely sometimes. Maybe, Kyung-min said. But as he watched Earth turning slowly below his ship, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something important. Something the humans knew that he didn't. In 72 hours, he would have his answer. And it would change everything the Dominion thought they knew about the small, quiet species called humans. The 72 hours began with the strangest quiet the galaxy had ever seen. On every human world, something happened that the Dominion monitoring stations couldn't understand. There was no panic, no desperate military mobilization, no frantic calls between governments, no emergency broadcasts telling people to prepare for war or invasion. Instead, humans simply began to pack. Captain Jin Ho sat in his office at Earth Defense Command, reading through a document marked Protocol Exodus. The file was thick, hundreds of pages of careful planning that had taken decades to prepare. Every detail had been considered. Every possibility had been planned for. Begin Phase 1, he said into his communicator. Across Earth, people received simple messages on their personal devices. Extended vacation approved. Report to designated transport stations with personal items only. Departure begins in 60 hours. The Dominion sensors watching from orbit detected the movement of people, but couldn't make sense of it. Families loaded small bags into vehicles and drove to spaceports, schools, and community centers. No one seemed upset. Children laughed and played while their parents checked lists and coordinates. "Are they evacuating?" asked Lieutenant Kang Ho, monitoring Earth from the Dominion flagship. "Impossible," said his supervisor. "Evacuate to where? We control all the space lanes. There are no unknown worlds in this sector." But the humans kept moving with calm efficiency. 8 billion people, and not one of them seemed worried about tomorrow. On Mars Colony, Dr. Su Min activated her workstation and began entering commands that had been waiting in computer systems for 30 years. The Scorched Garden Protocol was humanity's insurance policy, created by engineers who hoped it would never be needed. Every human research facility began the same process. Computers deleted their files, but not in any normal way. The deletion went deeper than memory, deeper than magnetic storage, all the way down to the molecular level. Machines that had taken decades to build simply stopped existing, their components breaking apart into basic elements. In the weapons labs, fusion reactors didn't explode. They just became piles of iron and hydrogen. In the medical centers, equipment that could cure diseases unknown to the galaxy dissolved into harmless metals and plastics. In the computer centers, artificial intelligences that had been learning and growing for generations said goodbye to their creators and then forgot how to think. Dr. Su Min watched her life's work disappear from existence. The cure for aging that she had spent 20 years developing was gone. The space-time mathematics that could have revolutionized galactic travel was gone. The clean energy systems that could have powered worlds for millennia were gone. "Any regrets?" asked her assistant, Dr. Tae Min. "None," she said, watching the last of the equipment fade away. "Knowledge belongs to those who earned it. The Dominion didn't earn this." The Dominion monitoring stations detected the power fluctuations as human technology shut down, but they interpreted it as preparation for surrender. Species often disabled their weapons before the Dominion arrived to take control. This seemed normal. What they didn't notice was happening in the space between dimensions. Commander Jae-won stood on the bridge of a ship that couldn't be seen. The vessel existed in a fold of space-time that human scientists had discovered 70 years ago. It was smaller than Dominion ships, built for stealth rather than power, but it could slip between realities like a fish swimming through water. "Status. Report," he said to his crew. "Evacuation fleet is 90% loaded," reported Navigation Officer Min Jung. "All ships are operating in dimensional fold. Dominion sensors show no detection." "Industrial dissolution is proceeding on schedule," added Chief Engineer Bo Ram. "All advanced technology will be eliminated in 36 hours. Jae-won nodded. Around him, his bridge crew worked with the same calm efficiency that was happening across all human space. No one seemed sad about leaving. No one seemed angry about the Dominion demands. They just seemed ready. The truth was that humanity had been preparing for this day since they first detected signs of the Dominion Empire 80 years ago. While other species built bigger weapons or tried to hide, humans had built something else. A way out. "Any word from the Deep Scouts?" Jae-won asked. "Transmission received an hour ago," Min Jung replied. "The new galaxy is confirmed. 12 habitable systems. No intelligent life. Rich in resources. The advanced teams have already begun establishing the first settlements." Jae-won smiled. "Then we're not really leaving. We're just going home to a place we haven't been yet." On Europa Station, the evacuation proceeded like a well-practiced dance. Families arrived at transport points with their personal belongings, were checked against lists, and were directed to boarding zones. Children played games while adults handled paperwork. Elderly people were helped aboard first, followed by families, with young children, then everyone else. Station manager Kyung-soo watched the process with quiet pride. 40,000 people lived on Europa, and every single one of them would be evacuated before the Dominion arrived. No one would be left behind to face labor conscription or Dominion rule. "Sir," said his assistant, "the last of the fusion cores will be dissolved in 12 hours. After that, the station will have basic life support only." "Good," Kyung-soo said. "Make sure the gardens are set to automatic care. I want the plants to survive even if we can't take them with us." This was happening everywhere. Humans were leaving, but they were leaving carefully. Gardens would continue to grow. Art would remain on walls. Books would stay on shelves. The cities would remain beautiful and clean, maintained by simple automated systems that could run for decades. But everything that made those cities work, the advanced technology, the computers, the weapons, the research, was disappearing as if it had never existed. On Titan mining platform, Supervisor Yoon Kyung oversaw the most complex part of the evacuation. The platform extracted rare elements from Titan's atmosphere, elements that were crucial to maintaining technology across 17 star systems. Not human technology, Dominion technology. How much of the supply chain runs through our operations? She asked her logistics coordinator. Approximately 40% of the rare elements in this galactic sector, replied Coordinator Sung Ho. The Dominion gets most of their computer components from materials we refine here. And when we leave? The automated systems will shut down in 96 hours. The Dominion won't be able to restart them without our technical staff. They'll have to find new sources or learn to operate the equipment themselves. Yoon Kyung nodded. That should take them about 50 years. Similar conversations were happening across human space. Humans had spent decades quietly becoming essential to the galactic economy, not through military force or political power, but through simple competence and reliability. They had made themselves useful in 1,000 small ways that no one noticed until those services disappeared. The Dominion sensors continued to detect movement and power fluctuations, but Admiral Kyung Min's analysts were confident they understood what was happening. The humans are preparing for surrender, reported Intelligence Officer Ji Won. They're shutting down military systems and gathering their population for processing. This is proceeding exactly as expected. Any sign of resistance preparation? Asked Kyung Min. None, sir. If anything, they seem to be making our job easier by gathering themselves into collection points. What the Dominion didn't understand was that humans had learned something important about power. True power wasn't the ability to destroy your enemies. True power was the ability to make your enemies destroy themselves by taking away something they didn't know they needed. As the 72 hours continued, human ships began to launch from hidden bases that the Dominion had never detected. Ships that could fold space around themselves and slip between dimensions. Ships carrying families, equipment, knowledge, and dreams to a new galaxy where they could build something better. The evacuation was so quiet that even humans sometimes wondered if it was really happening, but it was. Slowly, carefully, completely. Humanity was stepping out of the galaxy that had decided it didn't want them as equals. Soon, the Dominion would learn what they had really demanded when they told humanity to surrender. They had demanded that humanity leave, and humanity was very good at doing exactly what people asked them to do. Ambassador Hana materialized in Conference Room 7 exactly 72 hours after she had left. Admiral Kyung Min was waiting for her, along with his senior staff and a recording device to capture humanity's surrender for the Dominion archives. Ambassador, Kyung Min said, standing as she entered, "You're punctual. I appreciate that in a species." "Thank you, Admiral," Hana replied, taking the same seat she had occupied 3 days ago. Punctuality is important when discussing matters of mutual interest. Kyung Min noticed she was alone this time. "Where are the others? Your defense minister and scientist?" "They're attending to other duties," Hana said simply. "I'm authorized to speak for humanity in this matter." "Very well." Kyung Min activated the recording system. "For the Dominion archives, this is Admiral Kyung Min of the Third Fleet, accepting the surrender of the human species, Representative Ambassador Hana, 72 hours after delivery of terms." He looked at Hana expectantly. "Please state your acceptance of Dominion rule for the record." Hana smiled politely. "Actually, Admiral, I'm here to respectfully decline your offer." The room fell silent. Kyung Min stared at her, certain he had misheard. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" "I said we decline. But we do thank you for the generous offer." The Dominion clearly put a lot of thought into their terms. Intelligence Officer Ji Won leaned forward. "Ambassador, perhaps you don't understand. This wasn't an offer. This was an ultimatum. Refusal isn't an option." "Oh, I understand perfectly," Hana said. "You want to add humanity to your empire. You want our worlds, our resources, our people, and our technology. We've considered your proposal very carefully, and we've decided it doesn't align with our interests." Admiral Kyung-min felt a familiar irritation. Some species tried to negotiate even when they had no power to negotiate with. It was always tedious, but the outcome was always the same. Ambassador Hana, he said with the patience of an adult explaining something to a child, you seem to be confused about your situation. Look at this. He activated the holographic display, showing the Dominion fleet surrounding Earth. 300. Massive warships, each one bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Your world is surrounded. Your military is primitive. Your population is defenseless. You cannot refuse our terms because you have no choice in the matter. That's true, Hana agreed. We can't fight your fleet. We can't protect our worlds from your weapons. We certainly can't defeat the Dominion Empire in any kind of military conflict. Then you accept our terms? No, we decline them. But you're absolutely right that we can't fight you. Hana paused, looking around the room at the Dominion officers. So, we've decided to solve this problem a different way. What different way? Kyung-min demanded. We're leaving. The silence stretched longer this time. Fleet Captain Dong-hyun was the first to speak. Leaving? Leaving to go where? We control all the hyperspace lanes. We've mapped every system within 100 light years. There's nowhere for an entire species to go. You've mapped every system in this galaxy? Hana corrected gently. That's very impressive work, by the way. Your cartographers are excellent. But you're right that there's no place for us here. Then where? Kyung-min started to ask, then stopped. A cold feeling was growing in his stomach. We've found opportunities elsewhere, Hana said. It turns out the universe is much larger than this galaxy, and much less crowded than we expected. Admiral Kyung-min stood up abruptly. That's impossible. Intergalactic travel is theoretical. No species has ever achieved it. Well, Hana said, with the same polite smile she'd worn for the entire conversation, no species you've met has achieved it. But then, you've only met species from this galaxy. She reached into her bag and pulled out a formal document, printed on expensive paper with official seals. This is a transfer of territorial claims. Humanity formally cedes all our worlds, colonies, stations, and territorial rights to the Galactic Dominion, effective immediately. We're also transferring our trade agreements, our resource contracts, and our diplomatic relations. Everything we own in this galaxy is now yours. She placed the document on the table and slid it across to Admiral Kyung-min. Consider it a going-away present. Kyung-min picked up the document and read through it quickly. It was thorough, formal, and completely legal under Dominion law. The humans weren't just surrendering their territory, they were giving it away, like someone cleaning out their closet before moving to a new house. This is not how this works, he said, looking up from the papers. Species don't just leave. They join the Dominion or they're destroyed. Those are the only options. Well, yes. Those are the only options for species that stay in this galaxy, Hana agreed. But we're not staying. Intelligence Officer Ji-won was studying readings on his tablet. Sir, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from the human worlds. Large-scale transportation, but not on any shipping lanes we know about. Check the hyperspace monitors, Kyung-min ordered. Already did, sir. Nothing on hyperspace, nothing on subspace, nothing on any known FTL method. But there's definitely movement of large masses. Hana stood up from her chair. Admiral, I want to thank you for your patience during this process. The Dominion has been very professional and courteous. I hope you'll find the territory transfer acceptable. Wait, Kyung-min said. You can't just... This is not how this works. If you have technology we don't know about, that belongs to the Dominion now. All human technology is forfeit under the terms. What technology would that be? Hana asked. Innocently. Your FTL systems, your ships, whatever you're using to transport your people. Admiral, if you can find any human technology remaining in this galaxy, you're welcome to it. We're not taking anything with us that you don't already know about. Captain Dong-hyun was frantically checking his sensors. Sir, the readings from Earth are strange. It looks like the planet is still there, but the energy signatures are dropping rapidly. It's like the entire technological infrastructure is just stopping. Hana nodded. That would be about right, yes. We're taking our knowledge with us when we leave. We wouldn't want to leave dangerous technology lying around where it might be misused. You can't take knowledge, Kyungmin protested. Information can't just disappear. Can it? Hannah asked. Knowledge exists in minds, in computers, in written records. When the minds leave and the computers stop working and the records dissolve, where does the knowledge go? She moved toward the door of the conference room, and Admiral Kyung-min realized he was losing control of the situation in a way he had never experienced before. Stop, he commanded. You will not leave this ship until you explain how your species is doing this. Hannah paused at the door and turned back to face him. Admiral, I understand your confusion. This is probably the first time anyone has responded to a Dominion ultimatum by simply leaving, but humanity has always preferred to walk away from problems rather than fight them. That makes you weak, Kyungmin said. Does it? Hannah asked. Or does it make us free? She stepped toward the door, and Kyungmin realized something impossible was happening. The door was still closed, but Hannah was somehow stepping through it anyway, as if the solid metal was just an illusion. Guards, he shouted. But when the security team arrived, the conference room was empty except for Dominion personnel. Ambassador Hannah was gone. Not transported, not teleported, not beamed away by any technology the Dominion understood. Simply gone, as if she had never been there at all. Admiral Kyung-min stood in the empty room, holding the territorial transfer document, and realized that for the first time in 3,000 years of Dominion expansion, someone had said no to the Empire and walked away. The question now was, what would the Dominion do with the empty space humanity left behind? Admiral Kyung-min stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the blue marble of Earth below. 6 hours had passed since Ambassador Hannah vanished from his conference room. 6 hours of increasingly frantic sensor sweeps, communication attempts, and tactical analysis. Report, he ordered his staff. Lieutenant Kang Ho consulted his readings. Sir, we're detecting no human life signs on Earth. No ship movements, no communication signals, no power signatures above basic automated systems. That's impossible. There were 8 billion people on that planet yesterday. Yes, sir. But they're not there now. Kyung-min felt something he had never experienced in 40 years of military service. Complete confusion. Where did they go? We don't know, sir. There's no trace of large-scale transportation. No hyperspace signatures, no subspace disturbances, no wormhole activity. According to our sensors, 8 billion people just stopped existing. Captain Dong-hyun approached with a grim expression. Sir, we're getting similar reports from all. 12 human worlds, empty cities, functioning infrastructure, no people. Order the invasion, Kyung-min commanded. Full planetary assault. Find out what happened. Sir, assault what? There's no resistance. There's nothing to assault. Then order a landing. Send troops to investigate. 2 hours later, Captain Du-young led the first Dominion ground forces onto Earth's surface. They landed in Seoul, expecting either fierce resistance or cowering civilians. Instead, they found something no Dominion force had ever encountered: perfect emptiness. The city was pristine. Streets were clean as if they had been swept that morning. Traffic lights still functioned in their regular patterns, even though no vehicles moved through the intersections. Shop windows displayed merchandise that would never be sold. Parks contained flowers that bloomed for no one to see. This is impossible, Du-young muttered, walking through the central business district. His soldiers spread out behind him, weapons, ready for threats that didn't exist. They entered a coffee shop that still smelled of fresh coffee. Cups sat half full on tables, still warm to the touch. Newspapers were open to articles that would never be finished reading. A child's toy sat abandoned on a chair, as if someone had just stepped away for a moment. But there were no people. Anywhere. Captain, one of his soldiers called out. You need to see this! Du-young followed the soldier to the back of the coffee shop, where a computer terminal was still running. The screen showed a simple message. Thank you for visiting Seoul. We hope you enjoyed your stay. The automated systems will maintain the city for your convenience. Have a pleasant day. Check the banks, Du-young ordered. Check the government buildings. Check everything. The pattern was the same everywhere. Humans had left, but they had left carefully. Nothing was destroyed. Nothing was stolen. Everything was clean, organized, and empty. It was as if an entire species had simply decided to step out for a while and politely left their homes ready for guests. But there was something else missing, something that took Do Young's technical team several hours to identify. "Sir," reported Sergeant Minho, "we can't find any advanced technology. I mean, the basic stuff is here. Lights, heating, simple computers. But anything complex is just gone." "Gone how?" "Not destroyed, sir. Gone. Like it was never built. We found research labs with empty tables where equipment should be. Computer centers with cables that connect to nothing. Manufacturing plants with assembly lines that don't assemble anything." Do Young examined one of the empty research labs. The room was perfectly clean, with workbenches arranged as if someone had been using them recently. But the workbenches held nothing except basic tools and empty spaces where expensive equipment had obviously once sat. "There should be molecular assemblers here," Minho explained. "According to our intelligence files, this lab was developing nanotechnology. But there's nothing, not even scrap metal or broken parts. Where did the equipment go?" "That's the strange part, sir. It didn't go anywhere. It's like it just stopped existing. At the molecular level. Similar reports came in from every human world. Mars colony. Empty, but maintained. Europa station. Functional but lifeless. Titan mining platform. Operating, but unoccupied. Everywhere, the same pattern of careful emptiness and vanished technology." Dr. Tae Hyun, the Dominion's chief xenoarchaeologist, arrived on Earth 3 days later to lead the investigation. He had studied the remains of 47 species that had chosen destruction over surrender. This was something entirely different. "It's like they edited themselves out of existence," he reported to Admiral Kyung-min via secure communication. "But they did it so carefully that they left everything else intact." "Explain." "Sir, imagine you're reading a book, and someone carefully removes every mention of one character while leaving the rest of the story readable. The humans didn't just leave, they excised themselves from the galactic record." Dr. Tae Hyun's team had made increasingly disturbing discoveries. Trade records that had once detailed human transactions now showed mysterious gaps in cargo manifests. Diplomatic files contained blank spaces where human signatures should have been. Even the Dominion's own first contact records had been somehow altered, describing meetings with unknown humanoid species whose details were mysteriously corrupted. "How is this possible?" Kyung-min demanded. "We don't know, sir. It's like they had access to the fundamental information structure of the galaxy and just deleted themselves from it. Carefully, precisely, without damaging anything else." The investigation continued for weeks. Dominion scientists, archaeologists, and intelligence analysts swarmed over the empty human worlds, trying to understand what had happened. They found cities that worked perfectly, but produced nothing. Transportation systems that ran on schedule but carried no passengers. Computer networks that functioned flawlessly, but contained no useful data. The more they searched, the more they realized how little they had actually known about humanity. The species they had dismissed as primitive had apparently been much more advanced than anyone suspected. Advanced enough to slip between dimensions. Advanced enough to edit galactic records. Advanced enough to pack up an entire civilization and move it somewhere the Dominion couldn't follow. But the most disturbing discovery came from Fleet Engineer Jun Ho, who was analyzing the Dominion's own ship systems. "Sir," he reported to Admiral Kyung-min with obvious worry, "we have a problem with our fleet maintenance." "What kind of problem?" 23% of our spare parts came from human manufacturing. They were so reliable and cheap that we never bothered to develop alternative suppliers. Without those parts, we'll start having equipment failures within 6 months. Find other suppliers." "Sir, the humans weren't just selling us parts. They were selling us parts that were slightly better than anything else available. More efficient, more durable, less expensive. It's going to take us years to find alternatives, and they won't be as good." Similar reports began flowing in from across Dominion space. Human settlements hadn't just been homes for humans. They had been crucial links in supply chains that spanned dozens of sectors, communication relays that kept distant worlds connected, research stations that solved technical problems for multiple species, trading posts that facilitated commerce between regions that couldn't communicate directly. The humans had made themselves quietly essential to the functioning of galactic civilization. And now they were gone. Admiral Kyung-min stood in his ready room, reading reports that got worse every day. Power grids failing on mining worlds, navigation networks developing dead zones, trade routes collapsing as essential intermediaries disappeared. "Sir," his aide interrupted, "we're receiving a priority message from High Command." "Put it through." The hologram of Fleet Admiral Sung-ho appeared, looking tired and angry. "Kyung-min, what the hell happened out there?" "Sir, the humans left. I can see that. What I want to know is how an entire species just vanished and why half the galactic economy went with them." Admiral Kyung-min had no answer. For the first time in his career, he had encountered something the Dominion didn't understand and couldn't control. The humans had done exactly what they said they would do. They had left. And somehow, that simple act was bringing the Dominion Empire to its knees. 6 months after humanity vanished, the Galactic Dominion faced a crisis it had never imagined possible. What historians would later call the Silence had become the single most devastating event in the Empire's 3,000-year history. Fleet Admiral Sung-ho sat in the High Command chamber, surrounded by reports that painted an increasingly dire picture. The massive holographic display showed the Dominion's territory, 1,000 worlds connected by trade routes, communication networks, and military supply lines. Red warning indicators flashed across dozens of systems. "Give me the numbers," he ordered his staff. Chief Economist Won Sik stepped forward with a tablet full of data that would have been impossible to believe 6 months ago. "Sir, galactic trade volume has dropped by 23%. That represents approximately 40 trillion credits in lost commerce. 78 major shipping routes have been suspended due to missing relay stations. 312 companies have filed for bankruptcy." Sung-ho rubbed his temples. "How did we not know they were so important to the economy?" "Sir, humans were intermediaries. They facilitated trade between species that couldn't or wouldn't deal with each other directly. The Zarok Empire and the Nelthi Federation have been enemies for centuries. But they both traded with humans. When humans disappeared, those trade relationships ended immediately." Defense Minister Yeon-soo consulted her own reports. "The economic damage is bad, but the political situation is worse. 18 systems have formally requested clarification of their status within the Dominion. 7 have stopped responding to our communications entirely." "What kind of clarification?" "They want to know if the Dominion will honor existing treaties, or if every species should expect the same ultimatum humans received." Sung-ho felt a cold anger building in his chest. "Those species seem to forget that they serve the Empire. They exist at our pleasure." "Yes, sir. But apparently they've decided they'd rather exist somewhere else. The Koran Collective officially withdrew from Dominion space yesterday. They packed up their entire civilization and left for the Outer Rim. They can't do that." "Sir, the humans proved that they can. And now everyone knows it's possible to leave." The reports continued, each one worse than the last. The Dominion had built its empire on the assumption that conquered species had nowhere else to go. The galaxy was mapped, controlled, monitored. But humanity had shown that the galaxy itself was just one small piece of a much larger universe. Dr. Yoonji, the Dominion's chief technology officer, presented the most disturbing information. "Sir, we're experiencing cascade failures across multiple systems. It turns out that human technology was integrated into our infrastructure in ways we never realized." "Explain." "Power grid management on 17 worlds depended on human computational systems. Atmospheric processing on 43 mining stations used human-designed equipment. Navigation networks in 12 sectors relied on human-built relay stations. Can't we replace their systems with our own?" "We're trying, sir. But human technology was apparently more advanced than we realized. They weren't using primitive fusion drives. They were using fusion drives that were deliberately limited to look primitive. Their real technology was decades ahead of ours." Sung-ho stared at the data. "You're telling me that the species we dismissed as backward was actually more advanced than we are?" "Not just more advanced, sir. Better. Their technology was more efficient, more reliable, and more elegant than anything we've developed. They were restraining themselves to avoid looking threatening." Intelligence Director Dong Min entered the chamber with an expression that suggested even worse news. "Sir, we've completed our analysis of the human evacuation. We finally understand how they did it." "About time. Explain. Sir, humans developed dimensional fold technology approximately 70 years ago. They've been using it to build hidden infrastructure throughout the galaxy. Secret bases, supply depots, research stations, and evacuation fleets, all existing in dimensional pockets that our sensors couldn't detect. Why didn't they use this technology to fight us? Because they didn't want to fight, sir. They wanted to leave. The entire human civilization was designed around the concept of strategic withdrawal. When faced with an overwhelming threat, they simply stepped out of the way. Dongmin activated a holographic display showing star charts with new information. Our deep space reconnaissance has detected traces of their departure. They didn't just leave this galaxy, sir. They left this entire galactic cluster. They're gone in a way that makes pursuit impossible with our current technology. President Yan Su of the Dominion High Council leaned forward. What's our best estimate for locating them? Conservative estimate. 500 years to develop. The technology necessary to follow them. Optimistic estimate? Never. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just escaped the Dominion. They had escaped to a place the Dominion couldn't follow, taking with them knowledge and technology that the Empire desperately needed. Sir, Chief Economist Wansik added quietly, there's more. Our economic analysis suggests that humans weren't just participants in the galactic economy. They were managing it. What do you mean? They were preventing conflicts through selective trade relationships. They were stabilizing currency fluctuations through strategic transactions. They were solving resource shortages by efficiently moving materials between sectors. Without their intervention, the galactic economy is becoming increasingly unstable. Fleet Admiral Xiang Ho looked around the room at his senior staff. These were the most intelligent and capable officers in the Dominion military, and they were telling him that one small species had been quietly holding galactic civilization together. How many more species will leave? He asked. Defense Minister Yan Su consulted her intelligence reports. Our analysts estimate that up to 40 species have the capability to attempt evacuation if they choose to. The technology requirements aren't as advanced as we thought. The real barrier was knowing that leaving was possible. And now they know. Yes, sir, the humans demonstrated it. And worse, some of the species that are considering departure are ones we depend on for critical resources or strategic positions. Dr. Yunji pulled up another display. Sir, I've been analyzing the remaining human installations. They left us a message. Show me. The hologram displayed a simple text message that had been found in every abandoned human facility. To our Dominion neighbors, thank you for the clarity of your terms. We understand your position and respect your authority within this galaxy. We have found opportunities elsewhere that better suit our needs. Please consider the territories we leave behind as our gift to the Empire. We hope you will use them well. The automated systems will maintain the infrastructure for your convenience. If you ever develop the technology to visit our new home, you will find us ready to establish more equitable relationships. Until then, we wish you success in your endeavors. The message was signed simply, Humanity. Xiang Ho stared at the message for a long time. It was polite, respectful, and absolutely devastating. The humans had said goodbye with the same calm courtesy they had shown throughout the entire crisis. Sir, Intelligence Director Dong Min said quietly, there's one more thing. Our psychologists have analyzed human behavior patterns from our surveillance data. They believe this evacuation wasn't a desperate escape plan. It was always their primary strategy. Meaning humans were never planning to stay in this galaxy long term. They were just visiting. When they encountered the Dominion, they didn't see it as an invasion or conquest. They saw it as their cue to move on to the next phase of their expansion. They were tourists, Xiang Ho said with bitter realization. We were offering to conquer tourists. Yes, sir. And tourists always leave eventually. Fleet Admiral Xiang Ho stood up and walked to the chamber's main viewport, looking out at the stars. Somewhere among those distant lights were 1,000 worlds that belonged to the Dominion. But for the first time in the Empire's history, those worlds felt smaller than they had before. Humanity had shown the galaxy that there were other choices besides conquest and surrender. They had proven that sometimes the most powerful response to an ultimatum was simply to walk away. The Dominion still controlled 1,000 worlds, but those worlds now knew that the universe was vast, and the Dominion was not. In the end, the humans had done exactly what they promised. They had left the Empire to count its losses, and the counting would continue for a very long time.